The silent screen DR. Elena Vasquez had been staring at the same data screen for 3 hours. The coffee in her mug had gone cold, and her eyes burned from the strain, but she could not look away. Something was wrong in the Andorian sector. Something that made her stomach twist with dread. Research Station Alpha 7 floated in the void between stars. Its massive arrays pointed toward the depths of space. For 15 years, Elena had worked here as the lead xenolinguist, listening to the chatter of alien civilizations across the galaxy. She knew the rhythm of their communications, like a musician knows a favorite song. But today, that rhythm was broken. The door to her lab slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Marcus Chun stepped inside, his weathered face creased with concern. He was a good man, Elena thought, someone who understood that the silence of space could be more terrifying than any scream. "Still nothing from the Zelani?" he asked, moving to stand beside her workstation. Elena shook her head. 3 days now. The Zelani broadcast constantly. Their entire culture is built around communication. They send poetry, scientific data, philosophical discussions. Their radio spectrum should be alive with chatter. She pulled up a comparative analysis on her screen. Look at this. 6 months ago, the Andorian sector was one of the most active communication zones we monitored. Now it's like a dead zone. Marcus frowned as he studied the data. Equipment failure? No, we're still picking up their automated beacons. Navigation buoys, weather satellites, mining stations. All the automated systems are functioning normally. It's just the voices that have stopped. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell appeared in the doorway. She was young, barely out of the academy, but she had an intuitive understanding of alien communication patterns that impressed even Elena. "Dr. Vasquez, I think you need to see this." Elena followed Sarah to the main communications array. The room was filled with screens showing signal patterns from across the galaxy. Most showed the normal ebb and flow of interstellar communication, but one section glowed an ominous red. "I've been running deep scans of the Andorian sector," Sarah explained. "Most of the signals cut off abruptly 3 days ago, but I found something. A few fragmented transmissions from the outer edges of Zelani space. They're weak, badly damaged, but I think I can clean them up." Elena's heart raced. "Show me." Sarah activated the audio reconstruction system. Static filled the room, punctuated by brief moments of clarity. Elena heard something that made her blood run cold. The voice was unmistakably Zelani, but it carried a terror she had never heard before. Double quotes, ... old ones, wake ... ness between stars, ... cannot fight them, ... please. Anyone who hears this ... warn the others, ... the devourers, have returned ... double quotes, the transmission dissolved into static. Elena stared at the screen, her mind racing. The Zelani were one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had survived for millions of years by avoiding conflict, by building rather than destroying. If something had frightened them into silence, it was a threat beyond imagination. "Dr. Wright to communications," came a voice over the intercom. "I need Dr. Vasquez in the astrophysics lab immediately." Elena found Dr. James Wright, hunched over a holographic display showing the Andorian sector. The normally calm physicist looked shaken, his hands trembling slightly as he manipulated the data. "Elena, I've been analyzing the energy signatures from the Zelani system," he said without looking up. 3 days ago, there was a massive gravitational disturbance. Something huge entered their space. The hologram showed a 3-dimensional map of the sector. Elena could see the normal traffic patterns of the Zelani civilization, the gentle curves of their trade routes and communication networks. But cutting through it all was something else. A straight line of destruction that led directly to the heart of their space. "How big?" Elena asked. approximately 200 kilometers long, and it's not alone. I'm detecting at least 50 similar signatures, all converging on populated Zelani worlds. Elena felt the room spin slightly. What could be that large? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's moving with purpose. This isn't natural. This is an invasion. Commander Chun's voice crackled over the intercom. All senior staff to the briefing room. Priority 1. The briefing room was small but efficient, designed for quick decision-making in crisis situations. Elena took her usual seat beside Dr. Wright, while Sarah Mitchell set up the communications equipment. The room's main screen flickered to life, showing the seal of Earth Command. Admiral Harrison? Marcus said, activating the long-range communicator. The screen resolved to show a stern-faced woman with silver hair and the bearing of someone who had seen too much war. Admiral Patricia Harrison had commanded Earth's defenses for 20 years, and Elena had never seen her look so troubled. Commander Chun, I've reviewed your preliminary report. Are you certain about these readings? Yes, Admiral. Dr. Wrights. Data is solid. Something has invaded the Andorian sector, and the Zelani civilization appears to have been silenced. Admiral Harrison was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Vasquez, in your professional opinion, what are we dealing with? Elena chose her words carefully. Admiral, the Zelani are one of the most advanced civilizations we know. They've survived for millions of years by avoiding conflict and building defensive technologies. If something has defeated them this quickly, it represents a threat unlike anything we've encountered. What about this reference to devourers? Elena pulled up her analysis of the fragmented transmission. It's not a word in the modern Zelani language. I had to dig into their ancient texts to find references. According to their oldest myths, the devourers were entities that consumed entire civilizations. The Zelani believed they were myths, stories to frighten children. But now they're real, Dr. Wright added, and they're heading toward the core. Systems of the galaxy. Admiral Harrison's expression darkened. Earth Command has been monitoring the situation. We estimate that at their current rate of expansion, these devourers will reach the outer colonies within 6 months. The room fell silent. Elena felt the weight of the moment pressing down on them. Humanity had spread across dozens of worlds, but they were still young compared to civilizations like the Zelani. If the devourers could destroy beings who had survived for millions of years, what hope did humanity have? Admiral, Commander Chun said slowly, what are our orders? The Fifth Fleet is being mobilized. Admiral Torres will command the operation. Your job is to keep monitoring the situation and provide any intelligence you can gather. Admiral, Elena said, surprising herself with her boldness, what if we could help the Zelani survivors? Harrison raised an eyebrow. Explain. We've been detecting automated distress beacons from the outer Zelani systems. If there are survivors, they might have information about these devourers. Knowledge that could help us fight them. Doctor Vasquez, the Zelani space is over 40 light years away. Even with our fastest ships, it would take weeks to reach them. But if we could save even a few Zelani, if we could learn how to fight these devourers, wouldn't it be worth the risk? Admiral Harrison studied Elena for a long moment. Doctor, are you suggesting that humanity should risk its finest fleet, too? Rescue aliens we've never met? Elena thought of the terror in the Zelani transmission, of an ancient civilization crying out in the darkness. Admiral, 3 days ago, someone called for help. They warned others about a threat that could destroy everything we've built. If we don't answer that call, if we don't at least try to help, what does that say about who we are? The Admiral was quiet for several minutes. Finally, she spoke. The Fifth Fleet will depart for the Andorian sector in 18 hours. Doctor Vasquez, you'll accompany them as xenolinguist specialist. If there are Zelani survivors, we'll need someone who can communicate with them. Elena felt her heart racing. Yes, Admiral. Commander Chun, maintain monitoring protocols. If any other sectors go silent, I want to know immediately. The screen went dark, leaving the room in stunned silence. Elena realized that in the span of a single conversation, humanity had committed to its first interstellar rescue mission. They were going to travel farther than any human had ever gone, to fight an enemy they didn't understand, for people they had never met. Elena, Dr. Wright said softly, do you really think we can help them? Elena looked at the star chart on the wall, showing the tiny bubble of human space surrounded by the vast unknown. I don't know, James, but I know we have to try. Someone called for help, and humans answer when people call for help. As Elena prepared to leave Alpha 7, she thought about the Zelane transmission, the terror in that voice, the desperate warning about the Devourers. In 18 hours, the Fifth Fleet would jump to hyperspace, carrying humanity's hopes and fears toward the darkness between stars. The galaxy had gone silent, but humanity was about to speak with the voice of warships and the language of courage. Whatever the Devourers were, they were about to learn something new about the young species from the small blue world. They were about to learn about humans. Asterisk. The fleet of Hope, the SS Prometheus, was the largest ship ever built by human hands. 3 kilometers of gleaming metal and advanced technology. It carried the hopes of an entire species into the unknown. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge, watching the final preparations for humanity's greatest journey. At 55, Torres had seen more combat than any officer in Earth's fleet. She had fought pirates in the asteroid belt, defended colonies from raiders, and commanded the forces that established humanity's first interstellar trade routes. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. Admiral, called Captain Alex Rivera. From the command station, all ships report ready for hyperspace jump. Torres nodded, looking at the tactical display that showed the Fifth Fleet in perfect formation. 47 ships, including 12 heavy cruisers, 20 destroyers, 10 support vessels, and 3 massive carriers loaded with fighter squadrons. The finest military force humanity had ever assembled. Dr. Vasquez, any update on the Zelani situation? Elena Vasquez stood at the communications console, her face pale with exhaustion. She had been monitoring the Andorian sector throughout the fleet's journey, hoping for any sign of life. Still nothing from the main systems, Admiral. But I'm detecting faint signals from the outer colonies. Someone might still be alive out there. Major Diana Foster, commander of the fleet's marine contingent, approached the Admiral. Foster was a compact woman with intense eyes and the bearing of someone who had survived battles that would break lesser soldiers. Admiral, my Marines are ready for anything we might encounter, but we're going in blind. We don't know what these Devourers are, how they fight, or what they want. That's why we're taking Dr. Zhang, Torres replied, gesturing to the fleet's xenobiologist. Dr. Michael Zhang was a thin man with quick movements and an even quicker mind. He had studied every known alien species and had theories about countless unknown ones. Admiral, Zhang said, I've been analyzing the energy signatures from the Andorian sector. Whatever the Devourers are, they're not biological in the traditional sense. The readings suggest some kind of machine intelligence, but unlike anything we've encountered. Torres absorbed this information. Machine intelligence could be reasoned with, potentially, but it could also be completely alien in its motivations. Best guess, Doctor. What are we dealing with? I think we're facing an ancient artificial intelligence that views organic life as a resource to be harvested. The Zelani myths describe the Devourers as entities that consume entire civilizations. If that's accurate, we're not just facing an invasion, we're facing extinction. The bridge fell silent. Torres had led her people through many dangers, but this was different. This was a threat to everything humanity had built everything they hoped to become. "Admiral," Captain Rivera said, "hyperspace coordinates are locked in. We're ready to jump." Torres took a deep breath. "Fleet Command, this is Admiral Torres. Begin hyperspace jump sequence." The universe twisted around them. Stars stretched into lines of light, and space itself seemed to bend and flow. The fleet disappeared from Earth's solar system and hurtled toward the Andorian sector at speeds that defied comprehension. 6 days later, the Fifth Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Zilani space. What they found was a graveyard. "Dear God," whispered Captain Rivera, staring at the tactical display. The outer Zilani system had been home to 50 million beings just days before. Now it was a wasteland of debris and dark planets. The elegant spiral cities that had graced the system's worlds were gone, replaced by twisted metal and lifeless rock. "Admiral," Elena said, her voice tight with emotion, "I'm detecting a distress beacon from the fourth planet. It's weak, but it's definitely Zilani. Captain Rivera, take us in, but keep the fleet at a safe distance. We don't know if the Devourers are still in the system." The Prometheus moved carefully through the debris field that had once been a thriving civilization. Elena worked frantically to decode the distress signal, her fingers flying over the communication console. "I've got it," she said suddenly. "Admiral, there's a group of Zilani survivors on the fourth planet. They're hiding in underground shelters, but their life support is failing. Major Foster, prepare a rescue team. Dr. Zhang, I want you with them. We need to learn everything we can about these Devourers." 40 minutes later, Foster's Marines landed on the devastated world. The planet's surface was scarred and burned, but deep underground they found them. 12 Zilani survivors, the last remnants of a civilization that had existed for millions of years. The Zilani were tall, graceful beings with crystalline skin that reflected light in beautiful patterns. But these survivors were different. Their natural luminescence was dim, their movements slow with exhaustion and despair. When they saw the humans, their reaction was one of amazement and desperate hope. Dr. Zhang activated his translation device as the eldest Zilani approached. A being's name was Harmony of Distant Stars, and he had been a historian before the Devourers came. "You are the ones who answered our call," Harmony said, his voice carrying the musical quality that characterized the Zilani speech. "We did not believe anyone would come." "We received your distress signal," Elena replied through the translator. "We're here to help." Harmony's light flickered with something that might have been hope. "Help? There is no help. The Devourers have returned from the void between galaxies. They consume everything. Planets, stars, entire civilizations. We are all that remains of our people." Dr. Zhang leaned forward. "Tell us about the Devourers. How do they fight? What do they want?" "They want everything," Harmony replied. "They are machines, but not like any technology we understand. They were created by a civilization that existed before the galaxy was formed. That civilization destroyed itself, but the Devourers remained, sleeping in the void." Another Zilani, whose name translated as Singer of Ancient Songs, joined the conversation. "They do not negotiate. They do not communicate. They simply consume. They take the resources of worlds, the knowledge of civilizations, the very essence of life itself. How many ships do they have?" Major Foster asked. "Ships?" Harmony's light dimmed. "They do not have ships. They are ships. Living vessels the size of moons, supported by countless smaller entities. When they arrive in a system, they block out the stars." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "How do you fight them?" "We tried." Singer replied. "Our defensive shields, our energy weapons, our most advanced technology. Nothing worked. They adapted to everything we used against them." Dr. Zhang was taking notes rapidly. "Is there anything that can hurt them?" Harmony was quiet for a long moment. There is one thing. In our ancient texts, there are references to harmonic resonance. The Devourers are machines, but they operate on specific frequencies. If those frequencies could be disrupted, "You're talking about a sonic weapon," Dr. Zhang said, his excitement growing. "Something that could interfere with their basic operations." "Yes," Harmony said, "but it would require incredible precision. The resonance would have to be perfectly tuned, and it would need to be broadcast across multiple frequency bands simultaneously." Singer moved to an ancient device that had somehow survived. The planet's destruction. This is a harmonic amplifier. It is the only one of its kind still functioning. With it, we might be able to create the resonance needed to disrupt the Devourers. Elena contacted the fleet immediately. "Admiral, the survivors have a potential weapon. It's theoretical, but it might be our only chance." Torres listened to the full report before responding. "Dr. Zhang, how long would it take to integrate their technology with our systems?" "With the Zelani helping us, maybe 6 hours. But Admiral, we'd need to test it, and that would mean finding the Devourers," Torres finished. "How long do we have?" Harmony's light flickered urgently. "They are coming. We can feel their presence. In the void. They will be here within 1 day." Torres made the decision that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. "We're not running. We're going to make our stand here, in this system. If the Devourers want to consume another civilization, they're going to have to go through us first." The next 18 hours were a blur of activity. Human engineers worked alongside Zelani scientists to integrate the harmonic amplifier with the fleet's weapon systems. The technology was unlike anything humans had ever encountered, based on principles that seemed to merge science with art. Elena found herself working closely with Singer of Ancient Songs, learning about Zelani culture and history. Despite the horror of their situation, she was amazed by the beauty of their civilization. They had created art that spanned star systems, music that could be heard across light years, and philosophy that had guided them through millions of years of existence. "Why did you come?" Singer asked during a brief break in their work. "We are not your people. This is not your war." Elena considered the question. "Because someone called for help. Because it's what we do. Humans don't abandon people who need us." Singer's light grew brighter. "Perhaps that is why you will succeed where we failed. The Devourers understand consumption and destruction. They do not understand sacrifice and courage." As the modifications neared completion, the fleet's sensors detected the first signs of the approaching enemy. Space itself seemed to darken as massive shapes emerged from the void between stars. "Admiral," Captain Rivera called out, his voice tight with tension, "we have contact. The Devourers are here." Torres stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, looking at the tactical display that showed the approaching threat. The Devourers were larger than anything in human experience. The smallest of them was the size of a city, while the largest defied comprehension. "Fleet Command," Torres announced. "This is Admiral Torres. We are about to engage an enemy that has destroyed countless civilizations, but we are not like those who came before us. We are humans, and we do not surrender. We do not retreat. And we do not let innocent people die while we can still fight." The Devourer fleet continued its approach, blotting out the stars with their massive forms. But the Fifth Fleet held its position, 47 ships standing between the ancient enemy and the remnants of a destroyed civilization. "All ships," Torres commanded, "prepare for battle. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are made of." The largest Devourer, a machine the size of a small moon, began to glow with malevolent energy. Around it, hundreds of smaller entities moved, with predatory grace, their forms shifting and adapting as they prepared to consume another world, but this time They faced something they had never encountered before. They faced humans who had traveled across the galaxy to answer a call for help. They faced a species that measured strength not in the power to destroy, but in the willingness to sacrifice for others. The battle for the Andorian sector was about to begin, and with it, humanity's first step toward becoming the guardians of the galaxy. Asterisk.